Good afternoon. How are you? Hope you're doing well today. It may rain any minute. Jefferson tells me the temperature is 81. It feels every degree of 81 it could be. And the humidity is 83. And the wind is at 5 miles an hour. And it's just like walking in a, I don't know, a steam bath, sort of. Earlier today, I tried to get out and one of the roads was washed out, or the truck ahead of me, which had a higher wheelbase than I did, seemed to struggle to get through it. So I did a U-turn and went back to my home office. So just before I went out earlier to do this walk, there was some guy describing himself as a badass man. He was trying to identify his masculine quality. At least he didn't make reference to testosterone or something. And don't you get the feeling there are all these men out there who haven't figured out what it's all about? Even at an advanced age, you know, you get kicked around by life and you get some joys and celebrations and wonderful things happen. And how you deal with them, that's who you become. Women, same way. And if you have to go around and saying you're a badass man, maybe you're not really that much of a badass man. There was a friend of mine who was running statewide for office. And during the interview with our local weekly, the Washington Post, he said that the reporter said to him that he didn't have much charisma. This is a guy who hardworking, very smart, and so forth. But our vanity takes the best of us. And he said, my friends think I have charisma. Now, you see, you can't say that you have charisma, and you can't say you're a badass man, because if you have to say it, nobody else even thinks it. You look pretty pathetic. Now, talking about pathetic, a couple of days ago, I said, "Where the hell is Obama?" commenting, and I'm glad to say I don't claim any direct influence, obviously. But because I don't see him, I don't know him, I haven't been to his new house, I don't know how their marriage is going, I don't know any of those things. I don't know more than I read, hear, gossip, and I don't pay that much attention to it. Because everybody has a story in which something is getting you down and bringing you up. So Obama spoke last evening at a forum that they said couldn't be broadcast. And he went right to the core reason and methods to resist. And I mean that sincerely. He called for, how did he put it? Well, he called for institutions, law firms, universities, political parties, DOJ personnel to make uncomfortable sacrifices. Now, this is a little more cerebral than it has to be, I think, but the point is that there's a cost for peaceful resistance. He didn't say it exactly that way, but that's what he meant. So, and why would we be doing this? Because we're dangerously close, his words, to a more autocratic government. And he said the sacrifice there is something like a law firm. It reduces its billings. Others suffer retribution and bullying. So he hit all the points, and it was understandable. I haven't heard the spoken presentation. And he makes a very good speech when he does. I'm going to tell you something very important. It is about our fight against autocracy. He does that all very well. But he didn't once mention Trump's name in his presentation. Why? Do we think that we can reserve some portion of this, like Trump is going to make a 180-degree turn from an orange oaf in the West Wing to an upgraded citizen of the state fighting and working for our republic? No, it's not possible. And the people, even from 2015 to now, still talk as if that's possible. You have to ask yourself, have you been unconscious? I don't know who I'm talking to, so I don't suspect anybody out there thinks much of Trump. And you're right, you shouldn't think much of Trump, not in the sense of crediting him with any class whatsoever. He is a bore, He is an empty vessel. He can't even repeat hackneyed expression. A penny saved is a penny. You know, that's probably what he would say. And I guess he is the sharpest bulb in the drawer. So, did this guy read or ever think in his life? I mean, has he watched only TV in his entire life? How can we think of this guy as having any of the credentials necessary to be president? Can you imagine? Here's a good understanding of the White House. At one point, I was in conversations about becoming perhaps a counsel in the White House. Now, you know, I'm not claiming that anything by that except the following. Friends came up and said, "Oh, wow, that'd be great," you know, and they talk about eating M&Ms from the White House and, you know, going into the White House and stuff like that. And I've been in the White House. Some of those things I've done. But they don't understand that the White House is the place where every issue that cannot be decided ends up there. And who sits at the pinnacle of this impractical formation with Trump at that pinnacle? Trump, a man who doesn't know a damn thing, couldn't find his ass with both hands. Maybe that's what it means, half-assed man. So today, Trump is leaning on the Federal Reserve like he would know what to do in the complicated way with the resources and staff they have and with the information they have that is unknown in the future. And he wants them to lower interest rates just because he wants to lower interest rates. And the question of courage and strength, and in response to Obama's thinking, perhaps, was what will the Federal Reserve do? And they didn't reduce the interest rates for all good reasons. Now, let's take another one. Trump is milling around trying to figure out how he can get the most suspense out of him dropping a super bomb with a stealth plane, the only size plane apparently in the world that can carry this bomb and drop it in Iran. And he wants to just milk this for all that he can. And I'll tell you, somebody's going to have to tackle and muzzle him to stop him from doing something. And apparently, he's going to the Middle East. And I think he'd like to be there and take a victory lap and perhaps a new plane that they'll sell to him. Now, Russia warns us of nuclear catastrophe. And people here at home do as well. And Russia's not our friend. But I believe that the recommendation is right, given the incompetence and the surliness and the arrogance of the incompetence of our bloated orange oaf in the West Wing. Now, what else is going on? Well, in Florida, a judge is holding the Florida Attorney General in contempt for failing to do what the judge told him to do and to stop violating the law. And I don't know how it's going to sort out, but a jail cell would be just fine for him. Civil contempt. There's a range of punishments. And I think the judge is setting him up, rightly so, to see what he does and to up the ante if he doesn't do what he's supposed to do. It was DeSantis made it a misdemeanor for anyone to illegally enter or re-enter the state. So, the thing about Trump is how much he does conform. I don't know if it was New York Times, but the correspondent, reporter, journalist, who referred to him as Taco Trump. Trump always chickens out. Trump always chickens out. So, what's an example? Well, a current example is that he's getting Americans out of Israel. What would that tell you if you were an American and say, I want to be on the very next plane right away? This guy's insane. I want to race away from the possible radiation outfall that's going to happen because of this idiot. And the bad egg Hegseth said the district courts shouldn't set national security policy. Really. And they further believe, Department of Defense and Trump, that the president, he can do what he wants. But he cannot exceed constitutional authority to drop the super bomb. But they're thinking of dropping it, and if we don't watch out, sometime at 1 a.m. tomorrow morning, these bastards will drop that bomb. Now, it's interesting that Hegseth was at one point responding at the hearing. He said he read the Bible. That was the book he read. Well, maybe not so well, because there's a passage in the Bible, the Sermon on the Mount, and it says, "The blessed are the peacemakers," and this son of a bitch is no peacemaker. None of these people should be in any of the jobs they have, and it's the failure of our republic not to get out and say that repeatedly, daily, in every place that we can. But there it is. So, it really is a soggy day. So, I'm glad we had a chance to have this catch-up talk here, and welcome to my Cathedral of Trees, and I look forward to talking to you tomorrow. Bye-bye.